Okay, we're back. We're going to do Mike and Mark doing our top 10 songs. Today we're going to feature Asia, English band that was around in the 80s, had some comebacks most recently a few years back and until the death of singer John Wetton, which was a few years ago. So I'm going to go ahead and start out with my list. The band is John Wetton. It's kind of what they would call us. I don't like the word supergroup, but it was John Wetton, who was with King Crimson in UK. Steve Howe, of course, from Yes. Jeff Downes, who before this was on Drama from Yes, before.
And the Buggles.
And the Buggles, that's right. And Carl Palmer, of course, from Emerson, Lake and Palmer. So, big name group for sure. And they had a lot of success, especially on the first two albums. So we're going to go ahead and feature them here. My list is going to start with this. It's not going to be in any type of order. It's not going to be in album order. It was just randomly picked songs. So here we go. My top 10. Number 1 from the first album, possibly my favorite song, Time Again. The second song, which again could be, it's a 1 or 2, The Heat Goes On from the second album, Alpha. Always been a big favorite. The third song on my list it's a much later song. I believe it's from the Phoenix album, maybe from about 2011 ish, somewhere in there. We have no notes. We're doing this all off the cuff. So, Extraordinary Life, which is a beautiful song. John Wetton is just amazing on it. Big favorite of mine. The fourth song, Soul Survivor from the first album, probably one of my top 3 songs from the first album. First album got some heavy airplay. Song 5 from Alpha, a big hit but a beautiful tune, Smile Has Left Your Eyes. Always like that. The 6th song is from the first album. Again, one of my top 3 favorites from the first album, with Time Again and Soul Survivor. Here Comes the Feeling, which is the final track. Pretty powerful song. Heavy, just great tune. Song number 7 from the Astra album, which you will see on your screen, Voice of America. Song 8, again, we're going to go way forward. We're going to go into the, I believe is the Phoenix album. I apologize, I don't have that in front of me. The song Heroin, a ballad. John Wetton's just at his finest in this. It's amazing that, I think if Heroin or Extraordinary Life was released back during their heyday, I'm sure it would have been huge. Song 9 is the track that got the most airplay from Astra, Go, which just brings back great memories. It was a kicking song. It was just great stuff. And song 10, we're going back again to the Phoenix album, which I really love, obviously. The lead track, which got me hooked into Phoenix, Never Again. Great tune. So those are my top 10. We're going to go into honorable mention. So these, let's see, several of these are going to be from one album, but anyway, Nothing's Forever. And then the last four are from the album Astra. Wishing, Rock and Roll Dream, Love Not Till Eternity, and Too Late. As you see, I pretty much focused on Astra, Phoenix, the first album, and a little bit on Alpha. But yeah, lots of great stuff. Unfortunately, this version of the band is done because of John Wetton's death. So anyway, that's my top 10. Mike, you ready?
I sure am.
All right. Anything you want to add? You probably know more about these guys than I do, as far as the individual members.
Well, I remember when they first came out, just out of nowhere. And I loved them to death when they first came out. That first album was just gigantic at the time.
Yeah.
And like almost every song was just great. There were no real stinkers on the first album. But I still love them today, and their first three albums are great. The only thing we didn't mention is there was another form of Asia with John Payne, which came after the first three albums. The band kind of broke up, and I don't know if Jeff Downs was the only remaining guy that was in the New Asia or what, and I don't think very long, if anything. I think the New Asia was pretty much totally different with John Payne.
Yeah, it was. I saw them once.
Yeah, that's right.
And
I thought you did.
And
didn't you meet Payne?
No,
No.
I didn't. Oh, yes, I did.
Okay.
I did. I met Payne.
Yeah.
Downs was not in the band.
Okay.
Eric Norlander was the keyboard guy.
Yeah.
And we know him from the prog band Rocket Scientists.
That's right.
He was a really nice guy. Payne was a little odd. He was friendly. I honestly, when they did the original Asia stuff, I knew it, but when they played the John Payne stuff, I didn't know any of it.
Yeah, well, I think they did like 3 or 4 albums in the late 80s to 90s, and then I don't know whatever happened to them, and I don't know what the situation was with having 2 Asias, but the Asia then, so they had 3 albums first with the original supergroup, and then they do 3 more albums later on in the 2000s, and I think we only have 5 of those 6. We don't have the last one that I know of.
Yeah, we have Omega and Phoenix obviously.
Yeah. Anyway, so the interesting thing is my top 10 and honorable mention are very similar to Mark's. Very similar. And the odd thing is, as good as the first album is, I only have 1 song in my top 10 from the first album. I think the album that really hit me, and maybe someday we need to do a ranking the albums. That would be fun to do too.
Yeah.
But for some reason, Astra really was my favorite album. That just, something hit me about that album that was, I just loved it to death.
You kind of got me into Astra. I got it just because I was into Asia and I got it and I knew Go, but you were like, those deep tracks, you go, there's a bunch of great stuff in there. Check it out.
Yeah.
Because I, you know, at the time, who knows, I was 22 years old. I don't know what. I bought it. I listened to a little bit, and you're like, hey, there's way more than you think.
Yeah, and I was never a Go fan, so I just didn't care for the song that much. So the rest of it, I used to kind of skip Go, but the rest of the album is the next 5 or 6 songs are just awesome. They're just good times when those albums came out. So anyway, my top 10, the only one from the first album is Time Again. And I've always liked that from the start. And it's funny when you ever hear people talk about Asia, they always bring that song up. Because that was by far the most proggy song on the first album. Then on the second album, I've got 3 of them. Again, very similar to your top 15 or whatever you had. The Smile Has Left Your Eyes. I always love that song. You know, I still remember kind of the video for that. Watching that on MTV. The Last to Know is a great song.
Yeah.
And True Colors. I love Wetton's vocals on True Colors is excellent. Then moving to the third album, Astra. There's where we got 4 of them off of that. Voice of America. Wishing. Rock and Roll Dream. And Too Late. And then, very similar to you, Phoenix comes along, and it turns out to be, it's a shame that the world had changed and rock and prog were no longer cared about like they once were. And because Never Again, it could have been a huge hit. What a great song.
Oh, yeah.
And
heavy, but melodic.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It was just great.
It could have been a big radio hit if it was sometime in the mid to late 70s.
Yeah.
And Extraordinary Life, I think, is the last song on that album,
Yeah.
and that's a great song too. And
Yes,
and really, overall, Phoenix, Omega's good, but Phoenix is really a good album. I consider it comparable to the first 3.
Agree.
On my honorable mentions, now here comes 4 from the first album. Only Time Will Tell.
Which was probably their biggest.
I was just going to say
their
that
biggest
probably
song.
the biggest hit, but of theirs. But if you want to call it a hit, but
And MTV was all over it.
Yeah. But I still like it today. Having listened to all 5 of these albums recently when I was putting this list together, all of them just sounded really, really good. Soul Survivor as well on my honorable mentions. Wildest Dreams. And Here Comes the Feeling. And that first album just sounds really, really good. From Alpha, we got Open Your Eyes. And that's it off of Alpha. Just Open Your Eyes. And then 3 more from Astra. Just goes to show you, as I was saying, how strong. So I got 5 songs total off of Astra that I just love. Hard on Me, Countdown to Zero, and Love Now Till Eternity. Man, just talking about these songs,
Yeah.
I just want to listen to Asia.
Oh, I know. I probably will later.
Yeah. Yeah, but what a great band, and a lot of good memories in the '80s when those first three came out. Being young and
I always heard rumors that Steve Howe really didn't like this band or this music. I wasn't really sure if that was a true statement or not. I could be wrong.
well, obviously something went wrong because he only played on the first two, before returning before returning 20 something years later, or 20
maybe
20,
after the first
20
two
years
albums
in.
he wasn't happy and just left. So
Yeah. Well, I think at that point, then he went back to Yes, I assume. I can't remember exactly what happened, but
okay. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Hope you liked it. This is Asia. Let us know what you think. Subscribe and make a comment and let us know. And we will continue to make videos. We're going to do several more today. So thanks for listening or watching.